Okay, I think we'll get started. Whenever more people join, they'll just have to start later. We're going to move into some interpretation slides first on how to get interpretation.
Muy bien, entonces vamos a empezar ahorita. eh, Mientras las personas llegan de nuevo y vamos a empezar ahorita con algunos diapositivas que son en español.
Okay, so we are joined today by Terry Lobo, who will be our interpreter. We have some instructions on the screen on how to use the interpretation service. You can read these, and then we also have a video we are going to show.
Muy bien, entonces el día de hoy vamos a tener su intérprete Tere Lobo y tenemos algunas de las instrucciones de cómo podemos nosotros ingresar a la interpretación.
Hola y bienvenidos a esta reunión. Para acceder a la función de interpretación, haga clic en el icono del globo en la parte inferior de la ventana de Zoom y selecciona el idioma que desea. Para escuchar claramente el audio de interpretación, le recomendamos que también seleccione la opción para silenciar el audio original, que es la opción más baja en el menú después de hacer clic en el icono del globo.
Okay, now I will open up the interpretation room.
Bueno, ahora vamos a abrir lo que es el cuarto de interpretación.
Okay, we should be, if you can, if you should, you should be in the interpretation room for Spanish. I just want to let everybody know that this meeting is being recorded. Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the community meeting for the general plan amendment and conforming rezonings for properties that are within and adjacent to the Willow Street Neighborhood Business District, or better known as Calle Willow. I am going to be presenting. My name is Laura Maurer. I am the project manager for the general plan amendment and conforming rezonings. We are joined by Sunita Gosal, who is the supervising planner for the general plan team. We are also joined by Cora McNaughton, another planner with the city, as well as Esmeralda Rodriguez, a staff member from Councilmember Torres's office. I'll go over a brief agenda of what we will be discussing today. First, we will go over a short history of why this change is being proposed. Then we'll go into a little background of what are general plan amendments and rezonings. Then we will talk more about the specifics of the general plan amendment and the conforming rezoning changes. Then we will discuss some of the next steps that are in this process. And then we will open it up for public comment and Q&A. And then we will complete. Okay, so a little history on why these changes are being proposed. So back in 2021, the city had proposed adding some residential density within the Willow Street Neighborhood Business District. In April of 2021, we had a community meeting very similar to this one, where the community expressed a lot of concern about small business displacement and residential displacement. So staff then withdrew the proposal to add residential density within the neighborhood business district. And in December of 2021, City Council directed staff to go even further and change the land use designations of the properties within Calle Willow from mixed-use commercial to neighborhood community commercial to further protect small businesses. This protects small businesses because residential development is in high demand and small lot commercial development is in much lower demand. By going from mixed-use commercial to neighborhood community commercial, that removes the potential for residential development, therefore reducing the risk of small business displacement. We will go over more of this, but staff has modified slightly the direction from council to just better fit the existing conditions of each property within the area. Okay, now we'll talk a little bit more about what are general plan amendments and rezonings. So each property within the city of San Jose has both a general plan, land use designation, and a zoning district assigned to their property. And these both dictate what can be done on the property. They each have slightly different things that they can describe as what can be done on the property. So for general plan land use designations, it describes the general uses that can be done on the property. And it also determines what is the allowable residential density, which is something that we measure as dwelling units per acre. And it also determines the allowable square footage of a building in relation to the property square footage. And we call this a floor area ratio. Often we shorten to the letters FAR. A zoning district is slightly different, and it dictates more specifically the uses that are allowed on the property. It also dictates other development standards such as setbacks, heights, minimum lot sizes, parking, as well as other standards. So then what is a general plan amendment and what is a rezoning? So a general plan amendment is a proposal to change the existing general plan land use designation to a different land use designation. These changes are reviewed by staff to see if they are consistent with our general plan policies and goals. And then it ultimately ends up at City Council, who makes the final decision on whether to approve or deny the proposed change. A conforming rezoning is similar in that it's a proposal to change the zoning district from the existing district to the proposed zoning district. A lot of times we have conforming zonings and general plan amendments together because there is a state law that now requires that the zoning district must be conforming to the general plan land use designation. This also will go to City Council, who makes final approvals on whether to approve or deny. So now we'll get into some more specifics of the general plan amendment and the 4 rezonings. Okay, so on the map on here, we can see that showing all of the properties that are included in these proposed changes in yellow. There are a total of 56 properties that are proposed for changes. 51 of them are within the neighborhood business district, and 5 of them are outside of the neighborhood business district. And many of those were staff changes. And overall, all the properties combined is about 9 acres. Okay, so the current general plan land use designation of the properties that are going to be proposed for change, the current one is mixed use commercial. As we mentioned earlier, mixed use commercial does allow residential units. And this is allowed at a maximum of up to 50 dwelling units per acre. And the floor area ratio that we talked about earlier requires a minimum of 0.25 for commercial only development and a minimum of 0.5 commercial development if it's a mixed use project. This allows most commercial uses, and you will often see this designation in areas where the city would like to maintain or the existing commercial that is on the site, but would also like to add some residential uses. One of the proposed general plan land use designation changes is to neighborhood community commercial. And this is what was directed by council. On the map, though, you can see that not every parcel is that. And the reason for that is that we tried to keep that designation for properties that had existing commercial uses. The neighborhood community commercial land use designation does not allow any residential, so it has no density requirements. It does have a floor area ratio of up to 3.5. And this land use designation is intended for a wide variety of neighborhoods serving commercial uses, but also things like office, hospitals, and community gathering places.
Laura,
Yes.
can you please make me co-host? Thank you. Sorry for.
Sure, no problem. Okay. Okay, the next proposed general plan land use designation is mixed use neighborhood. The properties that are being proposed for mixed use neighborhood are being proposed this way because these are properties that already have only residential on the properties. We didn't think it made sense to put a commercial designation on properties that had purely residential uses currently. But the mixed use neighborhood land use designation does allow both residential and commercial uses. So it does allow a residential density of up to 30 dwelling units per acre and an FAR of 0.25 to 2. And usually we see a lot of either mid-density mixed-use residential, which is a mix of commercial and residential, or things like townhomes or small lot single-family homes. There are two properties that staff is recommending to make a residential neighborhood. This is typically for single-family houses. And so these two properties that we are proposing for residential neighborhood have existing single-family homes on site and are surrounded by other single-family homes. The residential neighborhood land use designation typically allows up to 8 dwelling units per acre, or if the density of the surrounding area is higher, it can go up to 16 dwelling units per acre and allows a FAR of up to 0.7. And as stated before, these are typically for single family residences and very limited number of home-based businesses. And the last two proposed general plan land use designation changes is to open space, parkland, and habitat. These two parcels are actually owned by the Silicon Valley Water District, and the surrounding parcels around this creekway are the same open space, parkland, and habitat general plan use designation. These are typically intended for things like parks, recreation areas, trails, nature preserves, and other sorts of permanent open space. So the second part of this are the rezonings. There are 4 rezonings, and they are for the 4 different proposed zoning districts. Not every parcel within the area is requiring a rezoning, and that is because their existing zoning district is already conforming to the proposed general plan land use designation of the site. So only the ones colored on the map are the ones that have a proposed rezoning, and these are to be conforming with the proposed general plan land use designations. Okay. Next, we'll discuss briefly about next steps. So the next step in the process is that I will be taking the considerations and the comments from this community meeting into our staff report, and we'll continue to evaluate the proposals based on whether they meet our general plan goals and policies. And then the next step will be to head to the Planning Commission hearing. It is tentatively scheduled at this point for November 15th. We present our findings to the Planning Commission, and then Planning Commission will make a recommendation to City Council. And then City Council, it is tentatively scheduled for December 12th. And Council will then take the considerations from staff and from Planning Commission to make the final decision on whether they would approve or deny the general plan amendment and the associated conforming rezonings. Both of these hearings, you will get the neighborhood will get another notice in the mail like you did for this community meeting. And the meetings are hybrid meetings, so you can attend either via Zoom like now, or you can attend in person. There is time at the hearings for the community to provide comments, like we will very shortly after in this meeting. And council can take those into consideration when making decisions on whether to approve or deny the proposed changes. Okay, and with that, we are going to open this up for public comment. I think we will not limit it by time. We also would like to say, just recommend that people speak slowly so that the interpreter can continue interpreting in Spanish. I'm going to also open it up first to any of our Spanish-speaking participants so that we can bring the interpreter back into the room just once, and then we will go to any of our English speakers. So if any of our Spanish-speaking participants would like to speak, please raise your hand. And I'm going to add the interpreter back into the room. Okay, so I think, Terry, can you hear me?
Muy bien. Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're gonna Rosalinda Aguilar.
Entonces, Rosalinda Aguilar.
We're gonna unmute you.
Vamos a permitirle el micrófono.
Okay, go ahead.
Adelante.
Hi, good evening. You can hear me?
Yes.
¿Me pueden
Okay.
escuchar?
I have
Sí.
two brief questions and then a
Tengo
general
dos
question.
preguntas breves y
The
después una
explanation
pregunta
for what
general.
FAR
La
means,
explicación, lo que
and
es
you
FRA.
mentioned at the end
Sorry,
of the.
I'm sorry, Rosalind. So did you not need the Spanish translation?
No, I do not need a Spanish translation.
Okay, then we'll have Terry, if we'll have you not translate. I need to put you back in the room because we can hear both of you.
Perfect.
Okay, so I'll put you back. Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll just logistics.
Okay. The first question was, I wasn't quite sure what FAR stands for. And the second question was, you mentioned two single family or two single something properties at the end of your presentation. I'm just curious where they're at on the map. And the last one is a general question and concern, if how much dialogue with the Calle Willow, the current Calle Willow merchants and residents has transpired leading up to these changes, and their general thoughts on these changes. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so an FAR is a floor area ratio. It's something that we use where it's basically the square footage of the building divided by the square footage of the property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the single family, I can go back to the slide that had that on there. So these are the two sites. So this is one on Vine Street right here,
Okay.
which is an existing single family house. And the other one here is close to the corner, which is also a single family house.
Okay, that is over on Willow and kind of like in the middle of the block.
Yeah, it's kind of right where Graham kind of meets
Oh,
Willow, it looks
okay.
like. Yeah.
Okay, and what exactly these two properties, what changes are you proposing for these two? Is it what is stated here on the side?
Yes, so that would,
Okay.
and that's basically what's existing on the site would match up with what we're proposing right now. What was on the site previously was the mixed-use commercial, which allows commercial development or commercial and residential development. So this will bring it in line with what is already there.
Okay, very well, thank you.
Okay, and then to address your last question about what have we done to connect with the community, we did hold a business owners only in-person community meeting on Monday of this week. And we went around and flyered with the businesses, and we went in person to try and meet with the businesses. We also sent out letters to the property owners to let them know about the changes. We have had a little bit of response, but not a lot of response from the business community. But a lot of our information is also going to be sent to Sacred Heart, who has been working in collaboration with us on a lot of this to continue any sort of outreach. The city has also recently set up stuff to help the community create their own business association. So there was a meeting in August to kind of help bring the business owners together to have another tool to help them fight against any sort of anti-displacement by having a much more cohesive business group through the neighborhood business district. So, and we've always been available for anybody that has wanted to talk to us.
Okay, and I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, do we have any other questions? Please raise your hand. Okay. Okay.
Laura, I was wondering, can Terry hear us now or not?
She can hear us, but we cannot hear her.
Okay, because I was wondering if there are how many speakers are in that room, and how would we know that if there are anybody in that room and if they want to talk? Will we see them in the attendee list?
Yes, they would be in the attendee list,
I see.
and if they wanted to speak, they
Okay.
could raise their hand.
Yeah.
That'll still show.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have another hand.
Yeah. So Maria Muniz, I'm going to unmute you to talk.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good afternoon. And I own a street on the corner of Willow, and I do have concerns. What is you're going to be doing between the businesses? Well,
I'm sorry, Maria, you're coming in really choppy. We can only kind of hear every other word. And I think we might have lost you.
I'm an operator. No. Can
Hello?
you hear me now?
I can hear you a little better now,
Can you
yes?
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I own and operate a business on Willow Street.
Okay.
I've been there for over 20 years, and I am concerned what is going to happen to our small business district, because it is thriving. Are we going to be displaced?
Hopefully not. No, the reasons we're doing this change is to try and help prevent displacement. So we're trying to reduce the possibility of redevelopment of the sites, which is one way that like businesses can be displaced. There are other ways that people can just be displaced, things like increased rent, which this change does not address, but there are other programs that the city has been working on to try and strengthen the business community in Calle Willow. And these proposed changes are intended to try and reduce your risk of displacement.
So thank you. But what is it that you guys are planning to do in that? Because that is the main artery of the business district between Vine and Almaden. What is it? What is the city proposing to build there?
So we're not proposing to build anything. We are only changing the rules for the property. So that, like right now, the properties allow commercial and residential to be built on these sites, and we're changing it so that only commercial can be built because residential development is much higher demand. So it's much more likely that the properties would redevelop if they are still allowed to do residential development. So we're changing the rules for the property so that they can no longer do residential development and they can only have commercial on the properties, which reduces the chance that it'll be redeveloped, which can reduce your chances of being displaced. But we are not proposing any actual development at this time. We are only changing the rules for the property.
Okay, thank you.
Does that explain that?
Yes, thank you.
Sure, no problem. Okay. Do we have any other people that would like to speak? Please raise your hand. Okay, I think that looks like everybody has asked the questions they would like to ask. So I'm gonna finish up the meeting then and say thank you everybody for attending. We do have one more slide with our contact information. So if you would like to contact us later with any more questions or comments, you can contact me, Laura Maurer. I am the project manager. If you had any questions about the environmental review, you can contact Cassandra Vandersweep. And if you are speaking Spanish, we also have a specific email for Spanish speakers that would go to one of our Spanish speaking planners, or you can use the phone number, which will get you with a Spanish speaking staffer. And with that, I want to say thank you everybody for joining us and have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Rosalind, do you have another question? Rosalinda, did you have another question? You should be unmuted.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
I've been having so many problems. I'm on my phone.
Oh.
Thank you for calling on me.
Sure.
You know, a question came to mind as Maria came on the phone call as a business owner. Now that I truly understand that what these changes are, my concern is because I was on the meeting back in April of 21, and by the way, I'm part of the neighborhood association. I've been on the board for 8 years, and so it was important for me to be on this call to really truly understand what these changes are.
Sure.
My concern is probably the same one that I had 2 years ago when there was proposed changes for possible residential development.
Right.
Does any in the wording of these changes, does anything protect current I don't know, small businesses from being displaced like Maria mentioned because of a possible big commercial development, something bigger than what we're used to seeing on Calle Willow?
I mean, there are a lot of different ways to address to address displacement. This can only address sort of one avenue of it. The city is working on other strategies for trying to help prevent displacement. There is a pilot project that's going on in Alum Rock. And then, like I mentioned, they're trying to start a business association for Calle Willow to help strengthen the relationships between the business owners in the area. If you want, I can send you some more information. That's being handled by our Office of Economic Development and not by us as planners. So what we're proposing is just one avenue of trying to help protect the area from displacement. But there are other steps that the city is trying to take to help work on that as well, but that it is a different department. So if you want to contact me at my email, I can put you in contact with somebody from the Office of Economic Development, and they can discuss more about the other strategies that they're working on to help with reducing the risk of displacement.
Yeah, and I would love to be in contact with them. Is this, I'm sorry, is this Laura?
Yes.
Or Cassandra? Okay.
I'm Laura, yes, Laura.
I will send you an email.
Okay, wonderful.
And thank you again.
You're welcome. Okay, if there's no other questions, then we will adjourn the meeting. Again, have a good night and take care. Okay.
Can you bring Terry
Yes.
Terry back?
Terry, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so
Rosalinda, did you have any other questions? I mean, we have to unmute you again. If you raise a hand, we can unmute again.
I don't think she has more questions. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Good job. I think that went pretty smooth. I don't know if anybody was actually in the Spanish room, but
and that's what I wanted to know, Terry. Is there